Color is universal, often composing many different facets of our life. It can influence our moods, sway our thinking, and incite a call for action. RWBY is no stranger to this. Their title characters are inspired by their fairy tale origins and the colors they normally embody. As the characters grow and change, so do the colors they don and the meanings they have. For this video, I'm referencing the graphic made by Blue Ink JPEG about RWBY's color symbolism. Link is in the description below, so let's jump into it. Red is the color of our life force. It represents warmth, passion, and energy. Red is a color that demands your attention. Out of all the RWBY characters, RWBY has been the most consistent character in terms of color scheming. Everything from her name, outfits, and fairy tale inspiration comes back to the color red. And it makes sense that red's consistent with her, as she's seen as having a flat character arc. RWBY is a character who doesn't stray from her morals. There are times where she'll doubt her ideals, being down by whatever's thrown at her, but it's clear that RWBY won't give up her dream of making Remnant a better place. In the Beacon arc, RWBY's red cape and clothing details stand out from her black dress. I believe the black used in her outfit is more of an aesthetic choice instead of a deeper color meaning. At first glance, we assume that RWBY would be a darker, edgier character based on her outfit alone, so it's quite a surprise that RWBY is the exact opposite of this, a cheerful, goopy weapons nerd with a sweet tooth to boot. Red also makes RWBY a foil to Cinder, who also wears red in the Beacon and Mr. arc. And if you want to see what red means specifically for Cinder, check out my last video. There's a subtle foil between them in the Beacon arc, where RWBY slowly adapts to being the leader of her team, while Cinder is more than happy being in charge. There isn't much of a foil between them in the Mr. arc, but it's shown that RWBY is less focused on getting revenge on Cinder and more on saving the world, while Cinder is focused on her own selfish desires and destroying RWBY. As the color schemes for their outfits deviate from each other, those are conflict with each other, as it seems that RWBY's main stripe is with Salem herself, who mainly has a black and red color scheme, the inverse of RWBY's first outfit. On the flip side, red is a warning to others. It can stand for aggression, anger, and violence. RWBY can be impulsive, often rushing into battle headfirst, but she does make up for an in-depth ability. She concocts daring plans on the fly with her team. RWBY is also ruthless. She used any opening or dirty trick to one-up her enemies, like what she did with Neo and Tyrion. You bitch! Anyway, while there are some new colors mixed into RWBY's Mr. outfit, the new colors don't add much to the meaning. On the surface, RWBY's character is mostly static in the Mr. arc. The fall of Beacon has affected her, but RWBY still puts up a strong front for her friends and family. She's still optimistic, but that front of optimism gets thinner and thinner as the show goes on, until it reaches a breaking point in the next arc. In her Atlas outfit, there's more uses of neutrals such as gray and black, and this emphasizes the more morally gray actions RWBY makes in this arc. She realizes that often there is no right action, only what she feels is best. This is shown when she lies to Iron One in Volume 7, Episode 2, and when her plan for Amity Tower may come at the immediate expense of Mantle's people. We also see RWBY's breakdown. She finally drops her optimistic front and briefly gives in to despair, since the Iron One makes in Volume 7, before his descent into full-blown villainy in the next volume. This arc was quite the debate among fans and critics of whether Ironwood or RWBY was in the right. And we all can agree that life isn't a fairy tale with happy endings for everyone. Sometimes those tough decisions are necessary for the greater good, but we can't lose sight of the greater good, lest we fall into darkness. Weiss was first marketed as the White in Team RWBY, which refers to her fairy tale illusion Snow White. The name Weissschnee even translates to white snow in German. In Weiss's case, this color has multiple meanings. White traditionally represents purity, integrity, and perfection. In the Beacon arc, Weiss's goal is to be the perfect huntress for the Schnee name.
I'm not perfect! Not yet. But I'm still leagues better than you.
Weiss wants to uphold her family name, but also wants to better or purify it due to her father's dishonor. Simply put, White represents her as a Schnee and not necessarily as Weiss. White also represents the sterility of Atlas, as the pivotal Atlesians mainly wear white. Simply put, it's the perfect color for her Ice Queen persona, as she's initially cold, sharp, and ill-tempered. Finally, there's a hint of red in her bolero, and this represents her inner passion and defiance. Monty initially label Weiss as a rebel, since everything has been decided for her for as long as she remembers. One of her defining traits is that she often rebels against the people who decide things for her, or makes assumptions about her without actually getting to know her. Her Mr. outfit, where she's under her father's thumb, is a more washed out blue-gray. This could be due to the animation software not translating the concept art well, but it could also mean that she's starting to wear her true colors, as her aura isn't white, but blue. Blue represents trust, loyalty, and integrity, and this does fit Weiss's arc as she melts away her Ice Queen front. She's more kind and empathetic, and realizes that Team RWBY is more of a family than her own. But she doesn't have that red that made her first outfit stand out. She does regain that red in the scarf she wears in Volume 6, when she makes the choice to stick with her team and return to Atlas. When we get to the Atlas arc, we see the growing prevalence of blue in her clothes. This blue is much darker and saturated. She even regains her red in the jewelry and interior of her dress. Even her whole design seems much more confident and commanding than her previous designs. And it's interesting to note that this is the arc where Weiss starts to reconnect with her family, once Jacques is out of the picture. Weiss has finally realized that she is more than just her name, and that she has the choice to carve her own path, and that the rest of Team RWBY will be with her all the way, and vice versa. Blake has the most interesting color changes out of all of Team RWBY. Like Weiss, she's initially marketed as the Black in RWBY, but undergoes some dramatic color changes. Blake's name means black in Old English, but also means white in Italian. Right off the bat, Blake has a lot of duality to her, as she's both the beauty and the beast in her fairy tale illusion, and her early beacon outfit shows that perfectly. While her color is black, there's plenty of white to complement the darkness. It's very reminiscent of yin and yang, the Eastern principles of duality. There's even a Volume 1 episode called Black and White, which summarizes Weiss and Blake's conflict with each other. The two girls have had difficult pasts, leading them to have black and white perspectives on what the other represents. Weiss has seen people get murdered by the White Fang, while Blake knows of the STC's abuse and exploitation of the Faunus. Anyway, black represents mystery, sophistication, and power. Blake is the most mysterious of Team RWBY, and even Miles and Carrie have said that she's one of the most difficult characters to write for. Black can often have a negative meaning, indicating mourning or evil. It conceals rather than illuminates, and it does fit her shadow motif all too well. As mentioned before, white can represent purity and integrity, and this points to Blake's strong sense of justice, as he wants a future where humans and Faunus can coexist in peace. However, that doesn't mean she's completely naive, as she's all too aware of the violent history between the two sides. At first, black seems to be her dominant color, as her whole motif is represented by black. But it's later revealed that her true color is purple, like her aura. Purple represents wisdom and bravery. Blake has grown up more quickly than her other teammates, being out on the road with the White Fang and with her toxic relationship with Adam. While she and Adam have called herself a coward, many of her actions prove she's anything but. It's also known for royalty and dignity, and that's clear to see based on the Belladonna's influence on the White Fang and Menagerie. In some circles, she's referenced as the Princess of Menagerie, or the White Fang Princess, which further foils her with Weiss. The shift from black to purple also makes sense with her last name, Belladonna, or deadly nightshade, as poisonous blackberries that bloom purple flowers. Continuing on, Blake starts wearing more white, purple, and hints of gold in her Mr. outfit. This could be a simple out from the shadows and into the light motif that they're using with her design. I believe it's also due to her parents' and son's influence on her. They were the ones to break her out of her self-loathing. Thanks to them, Blake realizes that it's better to accept their friends' support instead of running away to protect them. The gold in her outfit alludes to her connection with Yang. While Yang's main color is yellow, there's lots of gold imagery and motifs they use for her, such as her being golden as the sun. It's also implied that Yang felt the most betrayed over Blake leaving, and that the latter feels the most guilty over leaving Yang. Yang, Ruby, and Weiss are never far from Blake's mind. She still harbors a mean guilt over the events of the fall, but thanks to Sun and her parents, she's able to persuade Ilya to defect from the White Fang, interrupt Adam's Haven invasion, and reunite with her teammates. Before we move on to the Atlas design, it's interesting to note that Blake shares a monochrome color scheme with Weiss. There's a certain foil that's existed between them since Volume 1. They were first introduced as the black and white Team RWBY, but their true colors are really blue and purple. This is because their abusive environments have sucked all of their color away. Once they've truly broken away from their abusive figures, Blake and Weiss regained their colors. There's also a chess metaphor in Weiss and Blake's relationship, even having their team attack be named Checkmate. In the I Am the Arena page for Checkmate, there's a very interesting and poetic passage alluding to their past conflict. Hatred, resentment, fear, injustice, never-ending sorrow. After all this time, after all these generations, how beautifully strange it is that in this quiet place, far from the blood-soaked battlefields, two simple souls would meet. Running from fetters binding them to the fates of their forefathers, unknowingly toward each other, they stop and stare. Like chess pieces across the board, black and white, and destined for war, the daughter of the White Fang reveals herself to the heiress of the Schnee and braces herself for a blow that never comes. Oh, how beautifully strange it is that in this tragic world filled with pain and suffering, two chess pieces would simply walk away from the game. Checkmate. As they grow past those conflicts, the chess game between them is over. As Blake and Weiss evolve more into their true colors, they develop more of an understanding of what the other has endured and realize that they share more in common. For example, she, along with Ruby and Yang, supported Weiss in front of Jacques, as Blake recognized that Jacques was using the same abuse tactics that Adam would use, and Weiss would always be the first to stand up for Blake whenever the latter faced prejudice. Blake's Atlas design continues on with the same meanings the Mistral design had. There's more white than black, and the purple is much more prominent in this design. Black isn't a pure black anymore, it's more of a darker ash gray. One notable change from her previous designs is her haircut, and haircuts traditionally mean a new beginning. Blake is finally free from Adam, and she's fully out from the shadows and into the light. Campbell Shroud also receives an upgrade, with a yellow streak in the place it was broken. This could be a reference to kintsugi, the Japanese art of mending broken pottery with lacquer and gold. Kintsugi embraces the philosophy of accepting our flaws and imperfections, and this fits Blake's character journey well. She's fully embraced who she is, and learns to grow amongst her scars and trauma. Even though Blake was broken, she still returns stronger than ever before. Yellow represents happiness and being carefree, and this is clearly the first impression we get from Yang. She's the vivacious blonde bombshell who punches first, asks questions later. Even her full name translates to Little Sun Dragon in Mandarin, which is also Tai Yang's nickname for her. Just like the other RWBY girls, Yang's entire design is inspired by her fairy tale losing Goldilocks. Even her earlier fights show her fighting Ursa or other bear figures, which reference the three bears in her story. In her beacon design, the focal point of her outfit is her long golden hair, offset by the bronze and orange in her outfit, the purple band, and her light-like eyes. First brown symbolizes resilience, dependability, and security. Yang is perhaps the most carefree, but also the most down-to-earth of Team RWBY. She's not driven by lofty ideals or ambitions like the other three. Rather, her reason for being a huntress is to see the world and have more adventures. Orange has similar meanings to yellow, representing joy, enthusiasm, stimulations, and impatience. Like RWBY, Yang can also be impulsive and headstrong, as evident with her brawler fighting style. And as aforementioned, purple symbolizes wisdom, and Yang belies a certain maturity under her happy-go-lucky front. Yang is very caring towards her sister and respected teammates. It's also revealed that since both their mothers are gone, Yang had to step in and care for RWBY when Tai Yang fell into depression, and she was the only one to get through to Blake when the latter burned herself out. The purple design also complements her with Blake, who also has gold and yellow to contrast her layered designs. Her auras even match her eye colors, so make of that what you will. Now, her Mistral outfit has less traces of yellow-orange and more brown. This design and her DGAS design illustrates Yang's grief and depression. On a positive note, brown can also mean resilience, and the fact that Yang has picked herself up even with a lost arm and PTSD attests to that. What Yang has experienced has made her more cautious, and she takes her father's advice of not relying on her semblance. Her fighting style is less bombastic and fiery, and more subtle and unpredictable, utilizing kicks, flips, and blind spots to take her opponents by surprise. Finally, Yang's Atlas design still has plenty of brown, but her whole outfit seems overall lighter, with more instances of gold and orange, and this represents her newfound optimism. She's fully reunited with her teammates and is ready for the next phase of their plan. But this newfound optimism wasn't meant to last in this arc. As stated, Yang's most prevalent colors are yellow and brown, and clearly the latter color has multiple meanings for Yang. Brown also represents skepticism, and this really comes into play when Yang disagrees with RWBY for the first time. Now, this skepticism isn't new for Yang. Since the Mr. arc, Yang has been the most questioning of Osmond's motives. She's also the one who doesn't like when others keep secrets, but she can be a bit hypocritical in this aspect. Some examples are where Yang didn't disclose that Raven was the true Spring Maiden, and that part of Ironwood's downfall was due to Yang and Blake telling his plans to Robin Hill. As aforementioned, Yang's not about lofty ideals or the big picture like RWBY is. She even admits that she doesn't have sweeping ambitions like Blake and Weiss. Rather, Yang's focuses on the present, what she can do right now to help. She chooses to help Mantle instead of risking it all on broadcasting to Amity Tower, a high-risk, high-reward plan. But you don't have to have world-changing dreams to have purpose. Rather, Yang's the one that keeps the team grounded. She's the heart of Team RWBY. She even has a burning heart as her emblem. Yang fights for the people she loves and for the people she's lost, and isn't that already a good and golden cause? Thanks for watching this video. This was a lot of conjecture and overthinking, so if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.